what he can tell you, I mean...
I'm going to say you're doing bad. You saved.
Well, he can help you out if you're not doing as good as you could.
That's right.
But the worst he can tell you is you're doing the best you possibly can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a win-win. How can you lose there?
You can't.
You can't.
You can't win.
Well, let's go from Wall Street to a third world nation.
Oh.
Yeah, let's go out to where the tires are still burning. That's why they have the beautiful sunsets out there in Silver Springs. It's the vapors coming off the tire fire. It creates a very nice aura there. You know, the greens and the purples and stuff.
Yeah, we already talked about the greens and the purples.
Yes, greens and the purples.
And I thought you were too hoarse to call in there, dude.
Well, he's a bit sick.
You know what? I'm a little dizzy and stuff here. I've got this grunge thing going on, and but a couple of emails have come in this morning that are really very disturbing in the sense. One deals with the GMO topic, but the first thing I want to mention here, I got something from a guy, Sergeant Mike Wiggins. He's out of the U.S. Army. Looks like the first 10,000 refugees will be arriving in the U.S. from Syria. They will be given modern housing, utilities, and free food. They will know a life they could never have dreamed of in the homeland. Last night, 33,000 American veterans slept on the streets, and some of them died.
Yeah, what's
That's
up
what
with
he
that?
wanted to be pushed out there. And while my heart goes out to those folks over in Syria, and I don't mean to be cold, rude, indignant, or anything of that nature, xenophobic, whatever you want to call it, that's their problem, not ours. We have 20% of our children going hungry in this country. Let's feed them. Let's take care of our vets. Let's deal with that. And like I said, I don't mean to be cold, rude, or anything like that to those people.
But you are.
But we have our own problems here that we need to deal with.
Well,
the second issue...
wait, whoa, don't go to the second one. We're going to still talk about the first one.
Yeah.
How can you be considered cold and rude when you've got 1 in 4 to 1 in 6 homeless people are veterans? Those are people that went and served to protect you and to protect your freedoms. How can you
I can come on this radio show right now and say our president is a jerk?
Absolutely, and the VA's and all these social programs. If you go in there, if you have a card, if you have an identification card that says you served in the military, if you have a DD-214 that says you served in the military, you should be able to go wherever you need to go and get things that they're going to offer these Syrian refugees. Medical treatment, optical treatment, dental treatment, housing.
Look what happened with the bomber, the Boston bomber. He had free education, free food, free room and rent.
And he's going to have for the rest of his life.
Well, he is, but I mean, he had the freedoms of America.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we provided that for him, and they shows their things by
bombing up a marathon run.
You know, one of the things I've never really comprehended about our Constitution and what they call Miranda Rights. If I'm not mistaken, the introduction to the Constitution and the first 10 amendments stipulates American citizens have the right. If you're not an American citizen, why are you getting a lawyer? Why are you getting everything that American citizens are entitled to? And I know it is a very tough economy for politicians and everything, but the fact is this country has got away from taking care of itself, and we have decided to take care of the world for whatever reason. Well, the reason is that the politicians all take care of themselves and then the world and forget the people who voted them into office.
You know, I agree with you on this one topic.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go even farther. Our politicians don't give a damn about the people. They don't give a damn about the veterans. All they care about is power. It doesn't matter.
You hear this next subject matter, you're right on the money there.
All right, well, let's hear it then.
The next subject matter, I'm asking everybody in Minnesota to recall Debbie Stabenow, their senior senator, and this is why. She's getting ready, a political pro. They are a real-time policy government news agency. They are reporting this morning that Debbie Stabenow is going to attach a rider to a bill that has to be passed, the budget. It is going to squash food labeling everywhere is what this rider is supposed to do. And again, here is something that's getting attached to a bill that has to be passed. And this is how Monsanto has gotten in everywhere they go. One of their little lackeys attaches a writer to something. I'm going to read, if this is not a quote right out of the Monsanto propaganda machine, I don't know what is. A growing global population coupled with the effects of climate change and the stress placed on much of our natural resources has created an urgency for new innovations if we are to maintain our nation's agricultural leadership. That is what she said at the hearing for H.R. 1599 last week. I'm sorry, but that is what Monsanto has been saying for 25 years. That's what their people told Bush and Quayle back in the 90s. That is how they got into the FDA. That is how they got into the USDA. That is how they have invaded our agriculture in this country unchecked, basically. And let's make no mistake about that. There was never any testing done on their products. And now that the testing is coming in, they want to try to discredit the scientists that are performing the studies and make them out to be a bunch of idiots. And this is not the case. This is a very dangerous precedent that these politicians are getting ready to set. And then when we start getting into the courts are rubber stamping everything. Why? Because they have people that worked for Monsanto at one time.
How did Reed do on the voting for Monsanto?
I haven't looked at that yet. But because I asked Senator Reed on one of the shows he was here about the food labeling, and I actually didn't get to ask the question I wanted, but he commented on food labeling, and I know Reed has been very, very active in wanting more labeling on our foods. As far as that goes, I know he has voted for food labeling in the past. They're talking about attaching an anti-labeling initiative to the budget that has to be passed or the government shuts down on December 11th.
No, I get that.
That's blackmailing our government when they do that.
No, I get that, but I'm just wondering, how did the Nevada state senators and politicians, how did they know? Maybe you don't know right now, but if you could...
Well, Amadea opposed the labeling.
Amadea did, yeah.
On H.R. 1599, Dina Titus was the only one that voted against it.
Yeah, Amadea,
in Congress.
The other members of our congressional,
everybody else voted for that, and the Senate hasn't voted on that yet. That's going to be coming up in all the new votes and everything that they're going to be doing coming up here.
You know what was common to that? You said it was Reagan and Bush and Clinton and Bush again and blah, blah, blah. You notice the common thread there? It doesn't seem to matter what party's in power, who's in power, what's in power. It doesn't matter the individual or the party. Monsanto will live, and I'm not saying Monsanto as Monsanto. It could be Union Carbide, it could be any of the rest of them. They survive and they exist forever. They know there'll be different congressmen, they know there'll be different senators, they know there'll be different presidents. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they get what they want.
And they've had 115 years to learn how to grease those wheels.
Well,
and that's the crutch right there. And I firmly believe, and I'm still researching this issue. I'm having a real difficult time finding the case law on this. But in 1917, the U.S. government sued Monsanto under the Food Safety Act for saccharin being in Coca-Cola. The case went on for 8 years before the government threw the towel in. And it's my theory that is where Monsanto, the corporation Monsanto, because at that time they had not got tied into Syngenta or Dow Chemical or DuPont or any of those. They hadn't all come together yet. But it's my theory that those 8 years that Monsanto spent on attorneys, that is where they weaned themselves and cut their teeth, so to speak, on how to manipulate the government, how to get into the courts, how to lobby and, do all the stuff they do to persuade people in Congress to do what they want them to do.
Well, from the 60s to early 2000,
propaganda machine.
From the 60s to early 2000, they are able to get delayed any decisions on defoliants and chemicals that were used in Vietnam that contributed to veterans coming down with different forms of cancer and other diseases. They learned very well from that how to get it done. There was no such thing as Agent Orange syndrome. It didn't exist, and then suddenly it did. But by the time they recognized it existed, a majority of the people that suffered from the effects of it had already passed.
Yeah. One of the things, the thing that really, and I mean, this kind of turns my stomach, Monsanto's defense on Agent Orange was an accidental spill. We never intended that to happen. That was their defense. And they
accidental spill over thousands of acres?
Yeah.
No, dioxin wasn't supposed to be in Agent Orange.
Oh, okay.
It was an accidental spill that got it in there.
Yeah.
And they weren't, it was an accident. We're not liable for an accident.
Millions
is what
of
they said. But they still sold the product and furnished it, delivered it, and everything after they had knowledge of, quote-unquote, an accidental spill. And let's make no mistake about this. Monsanto has the best scientists in the universe working for them and doing stuff for them. They have some very brilliant people there, and they knew what was going on, and they knew the hazards, and they knew. I know right now, and I can say this with confidence, they knew the GMO technology was garbage. They knew they would have 20 to 25 years before scientific tests could come in and dispute what they were saying, and they knew it would be another 20 years in court because they've already done all this for the last 100 years. So they got 40 years that they can collect from their investment before they have to throw the towel in and say, oh, wow, you know what, we made a mistake.
Well, not only that, when they do get found that something's wrong, they change one molecule of the formula, and now it's something else.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's how they get around
it. What I think is so disgusting is that the politicians want to get up and smile in our faces in the cameras and act like nothing is wrong, like everything is okay. We're feeding the hungry children of the world. I'm sorry, you're not.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you could be poisoning them too. I mean, I just don't get it. Agent Orange, to me, the chemical companies, and that was a coalition of chemical companies. It wasn't just Monsanto.
Yeah.
It was Dow Chemical. It was Union Carbide.
Yeah, Dow was involved in that, and Carbide, and if I'm not mistaken, I think DuPont was involved in that too.
Doesn't
I
surprise me.
research that a little deeper.
As subcontractors, no doubt. But everywhere from the people that handled it in the States to the people that handled it in the freighters that took it overseas, to the people that loaded it onto the trucks, that took it to Natrang and some of the other places where it was loaded onto the aircraft and sprayed. And they go, well, if it wasn't sprayed on you, it didn't affect you. Baloney. I mean, there's called monsoons there. It washes the stuff off. It goes to the ground. It runs in every little stream and creek and rivulet.
Once it gets into the dirt, it gets into the food supply.
Yeah, it affects
it's just that simple. But one of the things, I'll never forget when that was a big issue at the late 70s. People were talking about it and it started coming to light. And I'll never forget, I was sitting talking to a guy. He had all kinds of stomach problems and ulcers and just all kinds of weird internal things going on. And there was a news report on, and we're sitting there talking, and the news report says, and so-and-so claims that Agent Orange was never sprayed from a helicopter. This guy threw his beer at the TV and said, you lying sack. I flew the helicopter that dropped that stuff.
Oh, sure.
So, yeah. I mean, this Monsanto company has developed a very, very efficient and effective propaganda machine by disseminating misinformation and putting things out there in a different light. And I cannot believe, and I'm sorry, but there's no other way to put this. When a politician accepts money from a company like that and does their bidding, they're selling their constituents out. They're selling the American people out is what they're doing, and to me, that's treason.
Your throat must not hurt now, huh?
Yeah, you sounded better as you've been getting worked up here, Aaron.
Hey, maybe I just need to read more anti-GMO stuff, huh?
Yeah, you're just getting warmed up and your throat's getting better, but
All right.
you don't sound too sick now.
Yeah. And Aaron, how do we get a hold of you out there in Halliday LLC?
Hey, 775-230-9915. Just posted up on the website, folks, about this Debbie Stabenow and what they think she's liable to do here. Go take a look at it. Get a hold of Ronnie Cummings over there at the Organic Consumers Association, www.Halliday LLC, on the website, folks. Looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day out there. Let's all have a good time. Let's all be safe.
Yeah, and as you drive through Silver Springs, notice the purples, the greens, and the oranges in the air from the tire fire.
I thought it was from him sneezing.
And not the phlegm, huh?
Not the phlegm. All right, Aaron, thanks for the call, man.
All right, hey,
All right, you guys have a good day.
It's
let's go
Aaron.
to a quick break.
Well, let's take a break, and we will be right back.
See ya.
Been married to Shari now 18 years, and on her finger you will find a wedding ring that I got from Precision Diamonds. I invite you to go see Victor Valdez, the owner, right here at 50.